Hello dear students, welcome to another lesson of our educational channel. This lesson is intended for grade 11 students, and in this lesson we are going to see a writing activity from lesson 9, unit 9. So please get a pen and a piece of paper ready so that you can follow me in this lesson. Until you prepare yourself, I'll meet you immediately after this short break. Welcome back, dear students. I hope you are ready now and you have a pen and a piece of paper so that you can follow with me in this lesson. This lesson, as I mentioned before, is taken from the workbook, page 64 and 65. Okay? Now, in this lesson, you are requested to write a film review. To write a film review, that is your opinions, your comments about a film that you have seen and you want to recommend it to your friends. So in this task, you are asked to choose a film to review, that is, a film of your own choice. Your review should be about one of the categories in the box below. Now, your film should be either animation or classic or from box office success or foreign subtitled, action, or historical epic. What are these film categories? I'll give you a brief review of these films so that you are now familiar with the types of films that you are going to write about. For example, if you see these types of films, how can they be categorized? You have different films. These are what we call animation films. So you can choose a film about animation. Or, if you see here, Charlie Chaplin, which is in black and white, it is a classic film. You can choose a classic film or one from box office. Or you can even choose one of these categories, which is Western films. Or even from these types of films, we can say that these are action films. Most teenagers are fond of action films. Maybe your choice would be an action one. Or it could be one of these films, which are what we call classic epics. Classic epic, that is films about famous people, about people who made history. Or it could be a film about war, what we call war films. Or it can be simply a thriller. Or we have these science fiction films. Science fiction films, again, most people are fond of these films and they enjoy watching them. Or simply, if you are one of the people who like these types of films, which are named horror films. Now, either it's horror, action, or animation, or whatever, in this review, you should write about 170 to 200 words. Your review should be about 170 and 200 words, and you can make notes on the following before writing your review. For example, you can take notes about acting. After you see the film, you can take notes about its acting, or directing, or plot, or costumes, or special effects, or casting, or cinematography, or soundtrack. I guess you are familiar with these terms because we saw them in previous lessons. Just to remind you, acting talks about the actors themselves, the cast of the film. Directing, that is the person who gives the direction of the film, who gives orders and the directions to actors. And the plot is simply the events of the story. And costumes, that is how actors are dressed. Special effects, that is with animation, with extra images, and how they are affecting the image. Casting, the same as acting. Cinematography and soundtrack, as the name implies. It's about the sound which accompanies the film. So, in order to take notes, we are going to see an example of a film and take notes about these things. But before that, you can think about what was particularly interesting or disappointing about the film. After you watch the film, you should remember what things you liked most or what things you did not like. You should also be honest about your opinions. You may use the following phrases to help you. Here you have some phrases to help you when writing your composition. Examples like the title of the film is, or it's about, if you want to talk about its plot. It was produced by, and you name the director. It's set in, that is the time and place when the film was produced. The thing I liked best about it was so and so. All right. It's very important to understand the instructions in a writing task, because you have to be faithful to these instructions, and your mark depends on how faithful you were to the requirements of the task. Now we are going to take an example of a film that most people are familiar with. I hope you are one of them, which is الرسالة, or The Message. Probably you have seen this film. If not, this is an occasion for you to know about the film and be tempted to see it later. Dear students, let's have a look at a review of this film, الرسالة, and from this review we are going to take notes that we need for our writing. Okay? So please, let's have a look. You can follow me here or from your workbooks, page 64 and 65. Now the text says, the acclaimed producer-director Mustafa Al-Akkad has often described Al-Risala 1977 as his labor of love. And the rewards of Al-Akkad's hard work are clear in this almost 3-hour epic, which tells the story of the birth of Islam from the Prophet Muhammad's peace be upon him first revelations to his passing away. The film follows the Prophet's peace be upon him story, beginning with the Prophet's peace be upon him and a handful of believers, and ending with a miraculous triumph of faith. Such an important story may seem impossible to script, but the plot is well written and faithful to its origins. Now from this paragraph, we can have many information about the story or the film. So first, we know who the producer is. Who is the producer? Yes, Mustafa Al-Akkad. So Mustafa Al-Akkad is the producer of the film. And when was it filmed? As you see here, in 1977. Then what type of film is it? It is an epic. An epic that is about famous people, about people who made story, people who were brave and courageous. Okay, now we have the producer, we have the category. What else? What other information can we get from this paragraph about the film? We have the plot, the story of the birth of Islam from the Prophet Muhammad's peace be upon him first revelations to his passing away, and the rest. So here you have the producer, the category, and the plot. So if you want, please take notes and write down these things. We have film category. Yes, it is historical epic. And then director is Mustafa Al-Akkad, and the plot, it is the birth of Islam, or the film follows the Prophet's peace be upon him story, beginning with the Prophet's peace be upon him and the handful of believers, and ending with a miraculous triumph of faith. That is how Islam was spread throughout the world. So these three pieces of information will be needed in our writing. All right? You see how we get notes from a text? Now let's see another paragraph. Here it says, the characters are portrayed magnificently and the dialogue is never flat or dull. The final cut was even approved for accuracy by Al-Azhar Al-Sharif. As a believer himself, Mustafa Al-Aqad clearly took meticulous care in translating this story to the big screen. Filmed in Libya and Morocco, the production team took 4.5 months to build a replica of Mecca and Medina as they would have appeared during the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The 400 members of the cast and crew lived there for the duration of the filming. The results are breathtaking. Again, from this paragraph, we can get some information about the film. So we have the characters, and we have the filming, the place where the film took place. So we can talk about the characters are portrayed magnificently. That is, the costumes were well chosen for their roles. And it was filmed in Libya and Morocco to give a similar image of the time of the story. All right, so these pieces of information can help us in producing our own review of the film Al-Risala or other films. To make things easier for you, I will let you complete the other paragraphs in your workbooks, just getting information from the review. So this you will do it alone, but here I have summarized the information in the text, and we have something like this. For example, the category of the film is historical epic. This we have seen earlier. What else? We have also information about the director, who is, yes, Mustafa Al-Aqad. That's excellent. And we have some information about the plot. And the plot, as we mentioned, it is about the story of Islam. And we have the cast, that is the actors. If you look in your text, you will find that Anthony Quinn played the role of Hamza, and Erin Papas played the role of Hind, and Michael Ansara played the role of Abu Sufyan. You can check this in your workbook. And we have cinematography and special effects. The text says that they were remarkable using dramatic scenery. And we have the soundtrack. The soundtrack was also very special in this film because it was made or composed by Maurice Jarre, that is the composer who wrote or composed the music of many famous films. And thanks to this soundtrack, the film won an Oscar. As I mentioned, these pieces of information can help us in producing our own film review. Of course, you have the choice either to choose a different film or you can write a review of the same film, Al-Risala. But what you have to keep in mind is that you should know information about the category, director, plot, cast, and things like that. All right? After you gather your pieces of information, you need to order them, to organize them. And normally when we write a paragraph, we follow this order. We start with an introduction. Now, what pieces of information can go under the introduction of your film review? For example, you can start talking about the title of the film, its category, and the director. So these three pieces of information could serve as an introduction of your film review. But you need to know the title of the film, its category, and the name of the director so that your review is authentic. All right? And then after the introduction, you can move to the body of your review. Now, in the body, you can talk about the plot and the casting, because the plot takes a lot of space and time. You need to describe the story, that is, main events of the film. For example, we can say summary of the events, actors and their roles, who played which role. You need also to know the names of the characters and the roles they took in the film. And also you need to talk about cinematography, special effects and soundtrack. So your body could contain 1 or 2 or even more paragraphs. Here I have suggested 2 paragraphs in your body. So for the cinematography, special effects and soundtrack, you can talk about how the cinematography was breathtaking, striking, unforgettable, magnificent, any other adjectives that you find will describe best the cinematography, special effects, and things like that. All right? And, of course, you need to conclude your review. Conclusion. In this conclusion, you should talk about what? Yes? You can summarize the things about the film and even give your own opinion or recommendations. For example, here you can state your own opinion and mention what you liked best about the film. Why do you think people should or shouldn't watch this film? Because you liked these things or you didn't. All right? So if you have the information we saw earlier, the organization, you must be now able to produce your own film review, either about Al-Risala or other films. Okay? Again, this will be your task. You will do it at home and hand it to your teacher, who will be pleased to check it for you and give his or her comments. But for your own benefit, I have prepared a model answer to this question. So let's see it together. I just remind you that you can use some of these phrases. For example, the title of the film is, or it's about, things that we mentioned earlier. It was produced by, it's set in, the thing I liked best about it was so on. All right? Now, you need also to remember that after you write your review, you must check these things. Remember to check your spelling. Sometimes you write a word, but you misspell it because of inattention. So if you go back to it another time, you will recognize your mistakes. So spelling is very important. You need also to check punctuation, full stops, question marks, exclamation marks, new paragraphing, and things like that. After punctuation, you need also to consider the organization of your paragraph. Now, once you have set a plan for your writing, you just stick to it. If you stick while writing your paragraphs to your plan, you will, of course, make sure that you have a good organization. After that, you need also to think of using linking words. Things like first, second, after that, besides, finally, things like that. They give more importance to your writing. And you also need to talk about or consider the general layout, that is, how your writing looks like. It should be clear, well written, no scratching, and clear handwriting. Because these things are considered when marking your writing. Okay, this model answer is going to show you how you make use of the notes that you have taken and also the expressions that were suggested to you. Okay, so if you remember, it says, Al-Risala is a historical epic, right? It means that here you give the category of the film. Al-Risala is a historical epic as it portrays the heroic struggle of early believers to spread Islam all over the world. In this sentence, we have combined both the category and the plot, or a general idea about the plot of the film. It was directed by Mustafa Al-Aqad in 1977. Here it mentions the producer and the year of the production of the film. The film is considered as one of the best work in film industry. Here it's an addition, that is something additional to the information that we have taken from the paragraph. So again, Al-Risala is a historical epic as it portrays the heroic struggle of early believers to spread Islam all over the world. It was directed by Mustafa Al-Aqad in 1977. The film is considered as one of the best work in film industry. So this is the introduction of your film review, where you talked about the category, the director, and a hint on the plot. Next paragraph. The film describes the story of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the few people who first believed his message to humanity. The film respects the real events as they actually happened. Al-Aqad chose the most appropriate cast for his film. Anthony Quinn played the role of Hamza, the Prophet's peace be upon him uncle. Erin Papas was chosen for the role of Hind, and Michael Ansara for the role of Abu Sufyan. The setting and the characters' costumes were carefully selected to represent the real events of the story. So in this paragraph, we talked about what? Yes, if you can identify the ideas. Right, we talked about the plot and the casting. Right? Now next move to next paragraph. The remarkable photography and striking special effects made the film a candidate for an Oscar immediately after its release. That is, since the film was successful, it immediately won an Oscar. Not all films win these prizes, but Al-Risala was one of the ones to win these prizes immediately after it was published. The film's soundtrack, which was composed by Maurice Jarre, was an extra perfection. All these features were meticulously woven to produce an extraordinary piece of art. So you have cinematography, special effects, the casting, all these were carefully integrated to produce an extraordinary piece of art. I think everyone should watch this film as it depicts the story of our Islamic heritage in a gorgeous way. Al-Risala is unforgettable for its acting, dialogue, and cinematography. It is worth recommending for its historical value. This is your conclusion and your recommendations for your friends to watch it later on. Okay? I hope now you have a clear idea on how to extract notes from a passage or from a film that you see or simply from your general knowledge about a certain topic. After you get these pieces of information, you need to organize them and put them in the order that you think will be suitable for your presentation. After having a plan, a clear one, you now need to develop your ideas and formulate them in complete and comprehensive sentences. And when writing, please remember spelling, punctuation, layout, organization, and all these things. So I will let you time to complete this task and hand it to your teacher, as I said earlier. And I hope your teacher will benefit you by his or her comments, and you will, after that, improve your writing. Okay? So I hope that you have benefited from this lesson, and I wish to see you another time in one of these educational channels. Until then, take good care and goodbye.